Hello and welcome into your Seattle Seahawks Report. I'm your host, Jordan Giorgio. We have a ton of news and rumors to get into, so let's go ahead and see what's on tap for today. First rumor to get into is cornerback Shaquille Griffin's one-handed brother Shaquem on the verge of making NFL history thanks to the success and sacrifice of Shaquille. Well, I'm starting the Seahawks Report on a positive note, giving this one 4-12 flags, which means this is absolutely true. For years, the twins have played football together, were coached together, excelled together, recruited together, and after 21 years at one another's side, conjoined both in spirit and football, they were separated for the first time in their lives when Shaquille boarded a flight to Dallas, where he began training for last year's Combine. 6 years ago at the University of South Florida's football camp, Shaquille decided to sit out and let his brother shine. And Shaquem did exactly that. He put on the show of his life. In fact, he was one of the best defensive backs on the field that day, forcing the USF staff to take notice and reevaluate their decision to not offer him a scholarship. USF assistant coach Vernon Hargraves, the father of Tampa Bay Buccaneers' 2016 first-round pick of the same name, pulled the Griffins aside to apologize for not offering him the same that they offered Shaquille and decided to offer them both a scholarship. Shaquem thanked Hargraves and politely declined, because if they hadn't wanted him before, why would he want the Bulls after? University of Central Florida's then head coach George O'Leary offered them both a scholarship, and that's where the two brothers went off to play college football. Shaquem ended his college career as the Peach Bowl MVP on the only undefeated team in the FBS. You are watching your Seattle Seahawks Report, and I am your host, Jordan Giorgio. Let's keep it rolling here with all the latest rumors out of Seattle. But first, I want to go ahead and take it and break down my rumor scale for you guys. If a rumor is given no 12 flags, it means the rumor is fake news, absolutely not happening. If a rumor is given 12 flag, there is a small shred of truth to the rumor, but we aren't buying it just yet. If a rumor is given 12 flags, it means that people are talking. If a rumor is given 12 flags, it means that the rumor is pretty likely to happen. And if a rumor is given 12 flags, it means bring on the 12s, baby. This rumor is 100% true. Next rumor to get into, the Seahawks will not use the franchise tag on Sheldon Richardson. Well, I'm giving this one 12 flags, which means people are talking. According to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, the Seattle Seahawks reportedly want to keep defensive tackle Sheldon Richardson long-term, but a tag is unlikely. Using the franchise tag on Richardson would cost the team around $14 million per Mark Sessler of NFL.com. Richardson has had a solid past season, registering 44 tackles, 2 fumble recoveries, a sack, a forced fumble, and an interception. Richardson is an experienced and proven player on a defense that could be facing the possibility of missing veterans like Cliff Averill and Cam Chancellor. A reunion makes sense for both sides, but with the Seahawks projected to have around $14 million in cap space, it's certainly feasible the Seahawks could lose out to higher bidders in free agency if they indeed use a franchise or transition tag. Moving on with the latest rumors out of Seattle. Are the Cowboys and the Seahawks in the works of a trade for Earl Thomas and Bryant? Well, I'm giving this one no 12 flags, which means this rumor is fake news. It's not happening, but Carl Daly of Sports DFW did discuss, though, why trading Bryant for Earl Thomas could make sense for each team. The Cowboys, who are looking to improve from their 9-7 finish last season, are in need for a new safety next season. Earl Thomas's arrival could give Dallas the option to play Byron Jones as cornerback alongside Chidobe Awuzie and Jordan Lewis. And we all know that Thomas reached out to Cowboys coach Jason Garrett, saying to get him when he comes available. Daly is also convinced that the Bryant-Thomas trade will also help the Seahawks. He pointed out that Bryant will bring a new dynamic to the Seahawks offense next season. He could become the more effective playing alongside Doug Baldwin, and will eventually be the most physical receiver for Seattle. But is a deal in the works? Absolutely not. Next rumor to get into, are the Seahawks not planning to trade Richard Sherman anymore? Well, I'm giving this one 3-12 flags, which means it's pretty likely. I talked last week about the Seahawks reportedly entertaining trade requests for the star cornerback throughout last season and appeared to be putting him back on a trade block again this offseason. But the season-ending Achilles injury Sherman suffered in Week 10 has altered Seattle's plans, according to NFL media's Ian Rappaport. Rappaport said during a recent appearance on NFL Network with Sherman, it doesn't sound like he's going anywhere anytime soon. He's dealing with an Achilles injury. He is not healthy right now, so he couldn't be traded. This strategy makes sense as it would be tough to gauge Sherman's true value while he's still recovering from a significant injury. Then again, it doesn't necessarily rule out the Seahawks moving Sherman at some point before the 2018 season. Sherman's fate could be tied to another member of the Seahawks. Veteran safety Earl Thomas will become a free agent in 2019 and was rumored to be on the trade block, but Rappaport reported it's now much more likely Seattle works out a new deal with Thomas rather than trading him. But if Thomas returns, the Seahawks could opt to keep its defensive backfield intact for at least one more season by holding on to Sherman as well. And even if they do decide to deal Sherman, NFL teams shouldn't hold their breath. So those patiently waiting for the Seattle Seahawks to move on from Richard Sherman might have to wait a little bit longer. But let's take it to a quick weigh-in. What do you want the Seahawks to do with Richard Sherman? Get all your comments in the section below, or go ahead and send me a message on Instagram at Jordan Giorgio and let me know what you think. Moving on with all the latest rumors out of Seattle. Next up I got for you is Bucs former running back Doug Martin, a good fit for Seattle. Well, I'm giving this one 2-12 flags, which means people are talking. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers released running back Doug Martin after he failed to reach 450 yards rushing for the second consecutive season. Injuries, ineffectiveness, and a suspension have also cost Martin his job, and the Bucs will save $6.75 million by releasing the 29-year-old. Martin is left looking for a job in a very stacked free agent class of running backs. Combine that with a strong draft class, and Martin may have a hard time finding a job heading into 2018. His best bet may be to sign a one-year prove-it contract with the hopes of a strong season and a weaker running back class next year will allow him to sign a bigger contract eventually. With both Eddie Lacy and Thomas Rawls unlikely to return next season, the Seahawks could certainly consider Martin as a low-cost bounce-back candidate for 2018. The running game and the offensive line both struggled in 2017. While Seattle still has some work to do up front, adding a dynamic playmaker like Martin would be a positive step toward a playoff berth for the Seahawks in 2018. But before we continue, let's take it to a quick reaction poll. Would you want the Seahawks to pick up running back Doug Martin? Get those reactions in. Give me a heart for yes or a like for no. Last bit of news to get into. Are former Seahawks players' brains being donated for CTE research? Well, I'm giving this one 4-12 flags, which means bring on the 12s. This is true. The brains of former center Grant Fiesel, defensive back Doug Long, and defensive end Cortez Kennedy have all been donated as a part of Boston University's study into NFL players' head injuries. Boston neuropathologist Dr. Ann C. McKee is leading the investigation into possible causes of CTE. In the initial results of her study released last year, McKee revealed 110 of the 111 brains examined from deceased NFL players showed signs of CTE. The brains of Fiesel and Long were analyzed at that time. Dr. McKee told King 5 News all this brown is tau protein inside of nerve cells, and that's what tau does. It builds up inside of nerve cells and leads to loss of cognitive skills, depression, and suicide. Dr. McKee also said the end goal has always been to help future generations, future athletes, future military veterans. We really want to be able to treat this disease. You are watching your Seattle Seahawks Report, and I am your host, Jordan Giorgio. Those were all your latest news and rumors coming out of Seattle.